Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to my new series. It's DM tips. I'm just gonna give you the tips for being a DM. We're talking about running Icewind Dale Rime of the Frostmaiden. We're gonna cover every 10 town and most of the quests. So this will be your go-to place to get all that good info on how to do it. So let's talk first about. Hang on, let's turn this off. This is the landscape, right? Part of the module says that you you just decide where all the towns are. You place them wherever you want. We're talking about Bremen. I've placed Bremen at the top of Kelvin's Cairn. Um, Personally, from all the games I ran, it seems like this is probably the best place to put that town, because there's a lake monster, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And I figured this lake monster was probably best suited to run around the outside of the mountain just continually. That's just for me. You put them wherever you want. Another good place is probably in the spine of the world. But, you do you. So another thing here, let's see here. Let's cover some basics of Icewind Dale. The biggest threat to Iceland Dale is the sun. Nobody wants the sun to come back. Now, the sun's been gone for a while. Everything's been allowed to freeze just like everyone wants it. Like Icewind Dale is the freezer of the Forgotten Realms. And if you let that freezer thaw out, then all the meat's gonna go bad. So that's one thing to keep in mind when you're running it. No one wants the sun to come back because everything will melt, and that will be the end of everything they know that's good. So keep that in mind when you're running it from the start. They don't put a lot of this detail in the first few chapters of the book, so just make sure you just hammer that home. Just no one wants the snow to go away. This level of cold, this negative 49 degrees, is perfect. So, all right, next little bit. What do we got? Sun, no sun. Most people are scared of the sun. Oh, right. So most towns are doing something about this to make sure that Arl keeps everything frozen. Most towns pay Arl 200 gold pieces every 10 day to make sure that she keeps up her end of the bargain. But little do they know is she's only saving up to pay off what she owes for her private island. And once that's paid off, she's not going to have any use for that gold anymore. And you know what? She's just going to stop flying over, and she's going to stop the sun from staying away. And you got it. Yep. Everything will melt, and everyone will be in a lot of danger, or just very uncomfortable for them. So, all right, we're starting with the first town here. It's Bremen. Like I said, I placed it right on the edge of the docks. The Bremen is in Bremen, on top of Kelvin's Cairn. And what are some other tips here? What are some things about Kelvin's Cairn and Bremen? Lake Monster runs around the base. This is about 20 hours a day that this monster runs about the base. It's very specific about that in the text of the town. So make sure that it's active and running for 20 hours of the day. One loop around Kelvin's Cairn is probably about 1 hour. Just takes an hour for it. And so what else? The town folk, when you get there, now they're worried that the monster is going to get tired and it's going to want to take a break. I mean, of course, there's those 4 hours, but it doesn't normally come into town. Now, what they're worried about is it might come into town and it might want a place to stay. And I don't know, for whatever reason, they're not into that. It says the monster has a Russian accent. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. This monster has to have a Russian accent, and if you don't do it, you're doing it wrong. So make sure to get that accent down for when they talk to the monster. Now, the monster was given a Russian accent by a magical wizard, who we'll talk about later. But just remember. So the leader of Bremen is named Gruffelberg Schalskrum. Scrum, yeah. And he is just tired all the time. He takes long walks down the mountain and then back up, but he always comes back. And no one's really worried about where he is because he does this so often. What else we have? We've got the Buried Treasure Inn. Now, this is an inn run by Corma Malpone, and anyone who wants to stay in her inn, she forces them to go out and dig up a buried treasure. Now she knows where millions of burieds of treasures are, burieds of treasures, and she marks one off the list and then tells the next adventurers to go and dig it up. Now there's something, yeah. It takes at least 5 sessions for them to dig this up. Expect 5 sessions, probably 2 to 3 hours each, of just digging. Just rolls. Do you dig? Strength check. Dig, dig, dig. Just plan for that, all right? Maybe get some real shovels or some dirt just to set the mood, in your room or wherever you're playing the game. But once you dig it up, on the 6th session, it says, they find the treasure, which is good. Yeah, this is gonna, the long time it takes to dig up the treasure is what's going to make this so valuable to your players. They're going to finally get to it and they're going to go, oh, thank God we finally got the treasure. We have a place to stay. So they take the treasure back to Cora. But of course, the big twist here is that Cora has died. Her son has killed her, and so no one's really in charge of the inn anymore, and you can just stay there as long as you want. It doesn't even matter for the treasure. Now, and her son, Harmon, the whole thing is he will not leave the group until they agree to kill him. He's so distraught over the loss of his mother, which was his own fault. But he just begs you and begs you to take him out. Now, of course, as soon as you decide to take him out, preferably, the preference here is to stretch this out across about 2 sessions. But at the end of that, as soon as you agree to take out the son, a tiefling shows up. He interrupts what you were doing, and he agrees to kill the kid, except his tools are back in Caer Konig. So the kid goes with this tiefling. This tiefling says, thank you, son, for coming with me. I'd be happy to stab you in the throat. But you know what? For the time walking over there, it's going to be a long walk. Here's this weird piece of black glass that he just has the kid hang on to on the way back. I think it's too heavy for the tiefling, or there's something about that. But that's the main point here. The thing you want to hammer home is you want to make sure everything your players do in this town is completely pointless. There's a thing in D&D called agency, right? And you want to make sure that you completely remove it. You do not want your players to feel like they have any effect on anything. That's the main thing here. You want them to feel helpless. So just I should have said that at the beginning of the video because that's very important. Now, another note of this city here is the 5 Tavern Center. Now, this is 5 taverns right in the center of town, and one man is in charge of all of these. He just decided he would open up a bunch of taverns. Now, this is way too much for him. As when you go into one, normally he's not there. He's making his rounds through the taverns. You have to probably wait at least a session for him to show up. But once he does, he doesn't have that much to drink, so he can only give maybe drinks to half of the party, and then he has to run and go somewhere else. Now, you could spread it out, and you could go to a different tavern and try to get like drinks for the rest of the party there. And if your players want to do that, that's fine, but that might be a little bit too close to agency, at least with Bremen. You do not want to let them have any options whatsoever. That's super important when running Icewind Dale. Is you want to make it seem like you're just telling them a story and they are just sitting there. It's almost like a movie is what you want this to be like. You don't want it to be interactive for the most part. Now, when they try to leave town, that's this lake monster that's running around in circles approaches them, and you can imagine what's going to happen next. Is now he thinks that you're the fisherman that he drunkenly hired to go hunting for him out in the woods somewhere, wherever. You can put a chunk of woods anywhere on the map. That's also in the rules. But you know what? Turns out there's another NPC that's already there named, what is it, Latai, and they keep insisting to the monster, look, I've already done this hunting. Look, here's 20 fox bodies, please have these. I've got these for you. You don't have to pay me anything. And the monster just pretends not to see them. And that's a big mystery that they set up. I think that's probably going to be the big culmination of the whole campaign, is something to do with this monster and these 20 foxes. So that's pretty much the gist for Bremen. I guess let me know in the comments if you have questions or corrections, or if I got anything wrong. And you know what? I'll see you in the next video, whatever that is. Where are we going next? Probably Bryn Shander. Oh, wow. There's a lot going on there, so we'll see you next episode. Thanks a lot, guys.